Hello, my name is Linda Jones, and I'm here to read you an extract from one of my books from the Oozing Magic series. It's Caverns Fall, and it's the third book in the series. This is chapter 1, and it's called Halloween. I hope you're ready. It was Halloween. Dylan and his sister Emily had arrived home from school to find two small packages were waiting. Emily sighed when she saw the writing on the top. She tucked hers under an arm and hurried upstairs to change. She was more interested in her Halloween costume than by what might be inside. Dylan, however, was far more curious. Placing his on top of the bedside cabinet, he bent close, nose twitching. There was a strange smell, not like bad magic. That whiffed of boiled cabbage and smelly socks. He pushed up his glasses and sniffed again. Flowery, musty, like Auntie Greta, he muttered. That would account for the flouncy writing and the muddy paw prints from one of her cats. Intrigued, Dylan tore off the wrapping. Inside was an old dark blue velvet cap, decorated with hundreds of tiny, brightly coloured beads. Longer strands of the beads hung down to form an elaborate ponytail at the rear. He picked up a small note that had fallen out and read it through. Dylan, I thought this would be perfect for Halloween. It used to belong to your great-grandfather. Enjoy. Dylan shivered nervously as he read the message. Outside, the sky was already growing dark. Usually he loved Halloween. Everything about it, the dressing up, trick-or-treating with his friends, and stuffing his face with as many sweets as he could. Except this year was different. This year he knew that magic was real, and even worse, it was going to be a full moon. If ever there was a time to stay inside and lock all the doors and windows, it was now. How come Auntie Greta sends you a cap and I end up with this scraggy old thing? Emily was standing in his doorway dressed as Catgirl and holding up a tatty black cloak. Let's have a proper look, she demanded, extending a hand for the cap. Dylan grudgingly handed it over. It's okay, suppose. The beads are neat. Emily gave it a quick inspection, then threw the cap back at him. Why aren't you changed yet? I thought you were meeting up with Ajit. I don't know if I want to go. You know it's a full moon and... Seriously? Emily rolled her eyes. This is Halloween. It's meant to be spooky. We both know it's not the real thing. Anyway, all our friends will be at the spooky party at the park. Who's going to attack us there? Dylan sighed as she hurried away. He really couldn't understand how his sister could stay so cool. Only last Christmas she'd been kidnapped by magical creatures called Wivix, shrunk down to 3 inches and only just managed to escape. And a few months ago they'd both been caught up in another magical adventure. That time they'd been chased by the watery Aquelsis and ended up diving into a murky river to rescue a friend's brother. Hoping his sister was right about the party, Dylan pulled on his wizard's costume. It wasn't much more than a loose-fitting red shirt and trousers. There was a coal-black cloak which glittered with tiny stars and moons, and he had intended to wear the usual boring pointy black hat to go with it. But instead, he put on the velvet cap. Dylan took a long look at his reflection as he moved. The beads on the cap winked in the light, the longer strands gently twinkling. Swishing the cloak around his shoulders, he grinned. Perhaps Halloween wouldn't be so bad after all. From below, he heard his father's deep voice. Dylan, Ajit's here. Just to be on the safe side, Dylan took the small piece of rock from his special box and tucked it into his pocket. It wasn't as if the rock had shown any signs of magic since his last adventure, but then again, Nothing magical had happened. Ajit, one of his friends from school, was dressed up as Indiana Jones. "Great costume," said Dylan. "Where did you find that whip?" "My dad made it for me." "That's a really cool hat," Ajit said, admiring the flowing tail of beads. "We'll knock 'em dead in the fancy dress parade." He held up his empty treat bag. "Do you want to trick or treat first, or leave it till after the competition?" "First," said Dylan, without hesitation. "Otherwise all the good stuff will be gone." Mr. Beaumont's voice followed them down the narrow path. "Stay together and be back home no later than 8:30. Do you hear me, Dylan?" "I hear you. See you later, Dad." Most houses were decorated with skulls or witches' cauldrons. Ghostly shapes hung in windows, and lanterns shone with an eerie orange glow. As his bag of treats grew steadily heavy, Dylan soon forgot his fear of meeting real magical beings. Half an hour later, Ajit pointed down to his overflowing bag. "I can't fit any more in." "I've got loads stuffed into my pocket as well," said Dylan. "Let's dump everything at your place and head for the party." Every year, the youth club organised a Halloween event. This year looked to be the best yet. Above the entrance, painted in large gold letters, were the words, "Welcome to the spookiest adventure of your life. Enter if you dare." All around the small park, lanterns were strung from bare branches. Huge model bats flapped in the light breeze. Ghoulish laughter, mixed with eerie music from concealed speakers, drifted high above their heads. Standing on tiptoe, Dylan could just make out a couple of ghostly clowns riding around on unicycles. In the centre of everything stood a dazzling carousel. A swinging boat ride was already in motion. While they waited impatiently in the short queue, the boys tried to work out who the ticket collector could possibly be. They couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman under the shimmering silver veil. When they finally made it to the front of the queue, they still hadn't worked out who it was. Ajit nudged Dylan, pointing to the ticket collector's feet. "How's he floating above the grass like that?" An icy shiver rippled down Dylan's back. "Run!" he gasped, trying to push Ajit away. Long, pale, human-like fingers snaked out to grab Dylan's cloak. A cold, deep voice hissed, "Finally, this was too easy." Well, that's the end of chapter 1. If you want to find out what happens to Dylan, then you'll have to read the book. And I'm pleased to say that it's available at the Dragon Bookshop, which is in 6 West Row, Stockton-on-Tees, UK. And it's also available online. If you type in www.thebookdragon.co.uk, there you can find all my books and so many other things. I do hope you've enjoyed listening to the story. See you again soon. Bye-bye.